Hi everybody, it's Nikki here and welcome to today's video, which is part of my 12 days of Bookmas series in the lead up to Christmas Day. So today I have another book tag video for you. I'm struggling for ideas, so I'm going to be doing all the tags. This one is a brand new one though. It was created by oh, what's her name? I'll put it on the screen for you. And this is the Christmas Treats book tag and a brand new original tag for this year. So I'm going to read the question and then show you a book for each question. So starting off with number 1, mince pies. Now I love a good mince pie. I don't know if anybody else does this, but I like to warm my mince pies up. Obviously take them out of the tin foil first, but warm my mince pies up just a little bit in the microwave and then add a little bit of like squirty cream or something to it. I don't have to have the squirty cream. If we don't have any, it's fine, but I like to warm mine up just a little bit so they taste more like they've just come out of the oven. Obviously if you're making your own, then they will have just come out of the oven, but if you're buying shop bought ones, like I generally tend to buy because I don't do any baking, I like to warm mine up in the microwave just a little bit, just so they're nice and warm and they taste so nice. So yeah, I love a good mince pie. But the prompt for that is a book with a great cover and an even better filling. Now this one is one of my favourite books of all time. It's in my top 5. And that is The Exact Opposite of OK by Laura Stevens. I love this book. Now, the US copy is not like this. Bless me. Thank you. The US copy is a boring blue hardback, and it doesn't have the vibrancy that the UK copy has. I do own the US hardback. I had to. It's one of my favourite books. I wanted to own the US copy. But also as well is Laura Stevens had to change some of the story inside for the US audience. I don't understand why, but apparently she did, because the US publishers wanted her to change some things. Now it's set in the US, so I don't understand. But anyway, I love this story. It is basically feminism at its best. It's a story about a young girl who's at school. She wants to take part in or enter into a competition, I think it is, for like little skits and things like that. But in her personal life, some nude photos of hers gets leaked onto a website and she is slut shamed, and it's all about the unfair inequality of slut shaming girls in these situations but not the boys. Like the boy in the situation that she's caught with in the photos is like revered as like a god because he got this lass and blah blah blah, but she's slut shamed for it. So it's all about that inequality. I absolutely love the sense of humour in this book. I will auto buy anything that Laura Stevens writes, including her middle grade. She wrote a mermaid middle grade, so of course I was buying that as well. And I just find it so funny. And also as well, this is the best depiction of how a mental breakdown or mental health can be affected by those things going on around you. And it was the perfect way to show how your persona will change. So at the beginning of this book, you're laughing out loud, you're giggling to yourself, and then about halfway through you realise that you've stopped laughing, that things are not so funny anymore, that things are getting darker and much more emotional, and you suddenly realise this is how mental health declines. This is the decline of mental health. And it was just so perfect for me. I absolutely loved this story. And I just think that the beautiful cover with all those colours and everything, you've literally got like little images, like drawn images of all the things that you find in the story. It's absolutely amazing. You've got more images and drawings on the back, and all of these things appear somehow, somewhere in these stories. And it's just beautiful, the vibrancy of the colours, and then the black of the title. It's just stunning to me, and I think the contents of it is just amazing. I got so many people to read this. I got my best buddy for reading, Charlotte, to read this. She absolutely loved it. I got my daughter to eventually read it, and she absolutely loved it. In fact, she was ringing me going, Mum, I've got to this bit and it's so funny, and oh Mum, I've got to this bit and I'm really worried. And so yeah, I got quite a few people to read this book, and if I can convince anybody else to read it, please pick it up. It's just an amazing story. I know it's not going to be for everyone, but if you've struggled with mental health yourself, you may really feel something when you read this. So yeah, I would pick this as my mince pie. Great cover, but also great filling. The next prompt is for sugar cookies. I don't generally tend to go for sugar cookies at Christmas time. I know a lot of people make their own, but as I've already said, I don't do a lot of baking. I'm hoping maybe this year we might do some, but we don't generally make them. And if we don't, I don't feel like I've missed out. But the prompt for this is something sweet, a cute and cozy book. Now I've kind of gone for something that this could have fulfilled another prompt, but I wanted something else to be in there. So a cute and cozy book I've put in for this one. Because this one is a really cute, cozy book for me. This is Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell and Faith Erin Hicks. Faith Erin Hicks is the illustrator and Rainbow Rowell is the author. This is a book that I reread every October the 31st on Halloween. It's my comfort. It's my cozy book that I settle down with on Halloween night and I read through it. We have these two young kids who are about to go off to university or college in the US, and this is their last year working at the pumpkin patch, something that they've done every year. They only ever come together for the pumpkin patch. They very rarely talk to each other during the rest of the school year, but they come together every year at the pumpkin patch and they get on really, really well. And it's just this journey. He's trying to speak to the girl that he's fancied all along. She's just in for some fun and trying all the different foods that are on offer because she's never been able to in past years. And together you just see their friendship just blossom and grow. You've got really good plus size representation in here, which I obviously really adore. And the more times I read this, the more I'm finding little things that I never noticed about it before. And I just think it's just such a cozy comfort read for me now. I look forward every October to reading this book, to settling down with a comfy hot chocolate and yeah, just reading this. I absolutely love it. And the artwork in it is amazing. Really, really love the style. And it's just such a lovely, lovely story. So yeah, Pumpkinheads. The next one is for Christmas pudding. I do love a good Christmas pudding. And of course you normally pour brandy over the top of your Christmas pudding and then you set it alight as you present it in the dining room, and it's supposed to be this beautiful sort of representation on your dining table. We don't do that, but I'm the only one who likes Christmas pudding in my house anyway, and we don't have any brandy, so we don't do that. But the prompt for this is an adult book. So I had to think about it and I eventually settled for this one. This is Beach Read by Emily Henry. I could have picked any of my Emily Henry books, but I decided to go with this one because I absolutely adored this one. When I think back, I rated book lovers higher than beach read at the time that I read them. But now when I think back about the books, it's this one that I think about the most. This one, we have 2 writers, one holiday, a rom-com waiting to happen. And the reason why I decided to pick this one over book lovers, and I think the reason why this one is the one that sticks in my head, is because this one has such adorable tropes in it that I absolutely love. I love a good Hallmark movie. I love watching Christmas Hallmark movies. They're so cheesy. They're so predictable. But if I was to read a book that was set like a Hallmark movie, I don't like it. I don't get on with it. It's too sickly sweet for me. I don't like it. But for some reason, Emily Henry can write a Hallmark movie type book, and I simply fall in love with it. And I think it's her writing style. I think it's her humour that she puts in it, the little banter bits that she puts in between her 2 love interests. And that's what I think I love about this. As I say, this has one of my favourite tropes in that, you know, when someone is trying to storm off and they set off walking in a certain direction and the person left behind is like, wrong way. And the person who's storming off has to literally stop, turn and walk in the opposite direction, therefore losing all authority over their storming off. And it's just that beautiful moment, that just little smile to myself when that happens in movies or in books. And it happens in this book, and I absolutely love that so, so much. And also there's some cute little moments between our 2 authors in here. They both have basically writer's block, I think. And so they decide to swap genres. So he writes, I think he writes serious literary types, and she writes hopeless romantic books. So they swap genres and try to write a book in each other's genre to try and break that writer's block. And it's just a beautiful story, and I absolutely loved it. I had such a great time with this. I cannot wait for the new Emily Henry book to come out next year. She is definitely one of the contemporary writers that I will buy her books, because I know I'm going to have a good time with them. I can't wait to read her next one. So that's Beach Read. The next prompt is Gingerbread. I love gingerbread. Last year my daughter made us some gingerbread men, and I devoured them. So a book with spice. Now, there was one book that I wanted to talk about, but it's an e-book and I haven't got the physical book, and that was Haunting Adeline. But then I thought, that's got a lot of triggers, so I wouldn't really recommend that to everybody. To be fair, the book I picked I wouldn't recommend to everybody either. But the book I decided to pick was Sarah J Maas, House of Earth and Blood, from the Crescent City series. Sarah J Maas is well known for her smut, and in this series she amps it up so much more. In fact, there was moments within this book that I was like, all right, put each other down. Leave them alone. But yeah, I've got to love Sarah J Maas and her books and the spice that she puts in them, because they're just really well written. I really like them. They're spice books, but with a good plot. I love the fact that her books have such major plots, and you feel like you're going on a journey with every one of her series. It doesn't matter which series of hers I pick up. Throne of Glass, the Court of Thorns and Roses series, or her Crescent City series. There's a storyline there. There's a plot line for you to follow along with. It's not just all about the smut. And sometimes I find that spicy books can be more about the smut than the plot line. Sarah J Maas writes plotline books with smut, and I just love the combination. I love the fact that there's no sideline characters in her books. Even I call them the supporting cast in her books, because they're not side characters, they are part of her storyline, and she makes you care about each and every single person in her stories, so that when she does things to them You cry, you get angry, and you're like, no, you're not allowed to do that, Sarah. But yeah, I absolutely love Sarah J Maas writing, and I love this series. Cannot wait to continue it. And I really appreciate the fact that in the second book of this, there is a merman, a sexy merman as well. So I'm hoping that in the next book, in the third book that is due out next year, that we get some more of that sexy merman. And yeah, cannot wait to read that third book. So yeah, Sarah J Maas, House of Earth and Blood for the Gingerbread prompt, spicy book. Next we have the Yule Log, which is a traditional pudding. I'm thinking of making a Yule Log this year, but I don't know whether I'll actually get round to it. I don't know. There's the plans that you make for Christmas, and then there's the reality of what happens at Christmas, in my house especially. So a book you like to reread. Again, I could have put Pumpkinheads for this because every year I do reread it. But then I thought of this book, and this book has been playing on my mind for the past 2 years. Like, reread it, come on, reread it, reread it, come on, reread it. And I keep having to tell myself, no, you have so many other unread books on your shelves. You cannot reread this book because you've already read it twice. You cannot reread it a third time, but I really, really, really want to. And it's The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I don't know what it is about this book, but my mind is constantly, whenever I'm struggling to get through a book, whenever I'm struggling, like finishing a book, and I am at the moment, I'm struggling with a potential reading slump. My mind is just going, read The Cruel Prince. You won't be slumping then. You'll get through it. And I just want to read this over and over and over again. And oh, I'm this close, extremely close to buying the black edition that is available at Waterstones now, because it's just stunning. But I don't need another edition of this book. My husband says I do. You buy it for me then, darling. But yeah, this close. But I love this story. The Cruel Prince is about this young girl called, what's her name? Jude. And her parents are murdered by a fae. And he then takes her and her sisters to the fae land and raises them as his own. And the reason why he does this is because her older sister is actually his child. Raises them in the land of the fae. But because Jude is obviously human and not fae, she's bullied and picked on by Carden, who is the Cruel Prince. And I want someone, not Netflix, because they have a horrible habit of cancelling these things, but I want someone to pick this series up and make it into a film, because I want this. I want to see this come alive. I want it. I want it so badly. But not Netflix, because they keep cancelling. They've cancelled Shadow and Bone, and there's a petition going for a third season. We want a third season. Like, you've just got to. But whether they will or not, I don't know. Listen to your consumers, please, Netflix. But yeah, somebody, please, Prime, I don't know, somebody pick this up and make it into a film. I love this book, and I just want to read it all the time. And I have to physically tell myself, no, Nicola, you have too many unread books on your shelves. So that's The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I've waffled on about it enough. Next one, number 6, a candy cane. So something decorative, a beautiful cover. I love a good candy cane. Every night in December, my husband makes me a beautiful hot chocolate with a little candy cane in, which turns the hot chocolate minty, which I absolutely love. So yeah, I have a candy cane it's only a mini one. But yeah, I have that with my hot chocolate every night. Now again, it's another Sarah J Maas, but this is a special edition one that my husband bought for me. Look at it. It's beautiful. Stunning. Now I have the Throne of Glass box set, but I have them in paperback. This one is the special edition hardback from Bloomsbury, and it's a collector's edition. And it has this beautiful on the back as well, which says "Meet the Assassin," and it has beautiful gold end papers. And does it have... I thought it had illustrations in, but it doesn't. But yeah, this is the first book in the Throne of Glass series, obviously, and it's stunning, it's beautiful. And I just love having this collector's edition of one of my favourite series of all time. I just love it so much. But can you imagine if they made the collector's editions of all, was it 7 books in that series? Is it 7? How big Kingdom of Ash would be? I know some people do have the hardback versions, but I don't. But yeah, I love this. It's so beautiful, stunning. And I'm so glad to have a special edition of it. The next one is for Panettone. I love a good Panettone. You can normally buy them pretty cheaply here in the UK. And that's like a fruity cake. My husband's never had it before, I believe, so I might purchase one this year so he can try it. And the prompt for this is an LGBTQ plus book. Now, I've got to say, and you might hate me for this, but when I was looking through my books, of books I've read, and please be aware that anything that I rate 3 stars or less is automatically unhauled from my book collection. So I don't keep every book that I read. I only keep my 4 and 5 star books. So unless it's part of a series and I haven't finished the series yet. So then if I do rate a book 3 stars but it's part of a series, I'll keep hold of it until I finish the whole series, and then I decide whether as a whole the series is a 3, 4 or 5 stars or less. So I don't keep all of the books that I read. So I'm only picking from a small number of books on my shelves. And I've got to admit that not a lot of them are LGBTQ+. I don't pick books because they're LGBTQ+ content. I pick books because they sound good, because I'm interested in the content. I don't really look to see if the author's LGBTQ or POC, or the characters are either of those. I just literally, I'm drawn in by the cover and the content of the book. Like, what's the book about? So my choices for this were very limited, but I do have the Heartstopper books, the graphic novels by Alice Oseman, and I do enjoy these books. I am hoping to get volume 5, which has just been released, and my daughter has borrowed these books as well after she watched the series. I think, was it on Netflix, I think, or Prime, one or the other. She loved the series, and I said, hey, you're aware that that is a graphic novel? And she was like, is it? Have you got the books? And I said, of course I have, that's how I know. And so I loaned them to her, and she devoured them. So I've kept hold of them because I plan on like gifting them to her in the future. I don't have any intention of keeping hold of these. That's what I'm trying to say. I think it's a great story, or a good story, but to me, they're in school. It's a UK based school, so I have a little bit more understanding of it, but they're school kids, and I'm too old for that. Like, I know I read middle grade, but like, one of the things I don't like reading about is school, like just general school. Because I've been there, done that, it was boring as hell. I hated school. Well, I didn't hate school. I loved school. What I hated was the other pupils in it. If I could have been homeschooled, that would have been amazing. But I loved learning. I just hated the other people that were there, interrupting my learning. So, yeah, and playtime. Ugh, who thought of playtime? Anyway, yeah, so I like this series, but it's not my favourite series. But it's a good series. Boy meets boy. And like they're learning about their sexuality together and dealing with being teenagers. It's good. I'm not with them. So I know a lot of people love this series, but I haven't been a teenager in over 30 years. Well, less than 30 years. I'm only 44. So I haven't been a teenager for 30 years. So 25, 30 years. So yeah, it's not my thing anymore. But I know that people love this. So that's that one. And the next one is Trifle. And a Trifle has many layers. I don't like Trifle. I just don't like it. The prompt for this is a book that falls under more than one genre. So I picked Adam 2 by Alistair Chisholm. This is another auto-buy author for me. I will buy every single book he writes because I love his stories. I first fell in love with his writing in Orion Lost. That book means the world to me. I met him earlier this year, I want to say. And I did take some books to be signed by him. But I didn't take this one because I didn't know what to expect from the meet and greet. And I didn't want to be too like, oh, can you sign all of my books that I have of you? I mean, to be fair, I only have 3 of his books. And I was buying one while I was there. So he did say to me I could have brought Adam 2 to be signed as well. And he would happily have signed it. But I didn't. So it is what it is. This one isn't signed. But my Orion Lost is signed. And my Consequence Girl is signed, so I'm happy with that. Adam 2 was his second book, and I love this story. This is of course a middle grade, but it's also a sci-fi as well because we're dealing with a dystopian world in the future, and we have robots. And this one is about a robot that has been lost in time, locked in the basement for over 200 years, and then he emerges out into the world where it is basically humans fighting against the robots, and one or the other is going to win the war. And Adam 2, the robot who's been trapped in the basement, is the key to winning the war, and it's how the war is concluded, I want to say, by the end of this book that is so beautiful. And yeah, I absolutely love it. It says, with incredible twists and turns, action-packed story, this is a thrilling, unputdownable adventure, and I absolutely cannot agree more. There are some cute little characters in here, and I just loved Adam 2 as a character. He's so adorable. If you're ever going to fall in love with a robot, it's going to be Adam 2. And it's set in Edinburgh, so enjoy this one. Next one is number 9, Books Fizz. I love a good Books Fizz. Bubbly, a light-hearted book. Now, the subject matter of this is a little bit serious, a lot serious, but it's dealt with. So I might pick it out and read it myself this Christmas Eve because it is such a beautiful story. And even though I know through historians that there's no evidence that this actually happened, it's still a beautiful story to tell, still gives us hope. And yeah, I think it's an absolutely beautiful book. The Christmas Truce by Carol Ann Duffy. And last but not least, we have number 10, Shortbread. And Shortbread is a biscuit. I dislike shortbread so much. I hate shortbread. I don't like it. I find it bland. I find it tasteless. Other people love it, so I'm obviously wrong. But it's not a biscuit for me. It's not something I enjoy, so I tend to avoid the shortbread at Christmas. But this is, shortbread is normally a thick biscuit like this, so the prompt for that is a chunky book. And I wanted to stay away from the Sarah J Maas because those obviously are chunky books. So I picked this Behemoth. This is The Priory of the Orange Trees by Samantha Shannon. I do have the prequel to this to read, which for the life of me I can't remember the name of it, but I'll put it on the screen for you. This book, this book was big. So it's 804 pages. The sequel or prequel is just as big. And I remember when I was reading this, it's hurting my wrist now holding it up. But I remember as I read this, my arms hurt so much from holding this book, which is why I don't buy hardbacks if I can get away with it. I prefer paperback, because a paperback that's 800 pages is so much lighter than a hardback that's 800 pages. This hurt my hands so much while trying to read it, but I could not put this book down. I loved this story so, so much. And we were told when this came out that this was going to be a standalone, that this was going to be all wrapped up within itself. And everybody was happy with that. But then people fell in love with the story and were like, oh, I wish I knew more about this and I wish I knew more about that. And then Samantha Shannon kind of hinted that possibly, potentially, there were more stories to be told in this world. And yes, this year or was it last year? I can't remember. But she brought out a prequel to this, which happens, I think it's set like hundreds of years before this book. And I still have yet to read that. I don't know whether I want to reread this before I read the prequel, or read the prequel first and then reread this. I don't know. But I do feel like this is due a reread sometime soon. Because I loved this story so, so much. I love the characters in it. I love the storyline in it. We basically have a queen who, the tradition is that she must conceive a female child in order for her realm to continue. And if she doesn't, then the dragons will return. And in this land, dragons are feared. The ancient enemy are feared. Meanwhile, in another part of the world, there is a place where dragons are being a part of their world. And we have a character who is training to be a dragon rider. Dragons are revered in this world. They're loved in this world. They're part of the culture of this world. And the story is about these two opposing worlds coming together and developing into one single story. So absolutely love this so much. There's lots of different characters going in lots of different directions, but they all come together, you know, in the finale sort of thing. So yeah, absolutely loved this story and want to read the prequel soon. So that is it. That is this tag for you. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you want to do this tag, then I tag you. Thank you to the original creator for this. Again, I'll put her name on the screen for you. But that is it for today. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, please like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.